I want to welcome you back to 5 Minutes with KeRusso. Welcome you back and welcome you for the first time. I hope that your day is going well, that your week goes well, that your life goes well. Now, it's possible that it isn't, and if that's the case, I'm sorry. But I want to offer you more than just I'm sorry. I want to offer you a blessing, because just because your day, your week, your life has not been going well doesn't mean the way that it has to continue. God can be in any day, any week, any life, and bless it so that you can live above what's going on physically in your life or what has been your history. Maybe your future changes. Maybe this channel, maybe this video is part of that blessing. And if so, I do hope you'll pass it on to other people so that they can know the blessing. We're looking at the Book of Ruth, this 8th book of the Bible, and what I've asked you to do is to discover the names in there and what they mean. And so hopefully you've done that research and digging yourself, and this will mean a lot more to you if you did. If not, just take it as I give it to you today, and here's what you're going to find. The very first guy you're going to run across is a guy by the name of Elimelech. His name means "my God is king." And then you run across his wife's name. Her name is Naomi, and her name comes from the word pleasant. Later on, she's going to ask people to call her Mara, because that means bitter. But by the end of the book, her name, she's going to be referred to as Naomi again. They had two sons. They're named Mahlon and Chilion. Mahlon comes from the root word of sickness, and Chilion comes from the root word of wasting. And these two sons, they married two women from Moab. Orpah is one of those women. Her name comes from the word for fawn or neck. And Ruth, her name comes from the word friend. Later on, Ruth and Naomi are going to run across a guy by the name of Boaz. And his name comes from the root word of swiftness. And the very last name you're going to come across in the book of Ruth is David, which means beloved. You got to go back and read this book with that understanding in mind. How do the names play out? What's in a name? Sometimes names are descriptive. Maybe something was going on in Mahlon and Chilion's life when they were born, where they just didn't have good health, and they were just given that name by their parents. Some names were descriptive as they were given to people in the Bible. Sometimes people were named after a parent. Sometimes the name was prophetic. Sometimes the name was given to them by God. And oftentimes we're not told why people were given the names they were given. But names do mean something. And it does mean something as the book plays out. Go back and read the book with that information in mind and see how it affects the way you read the book. Names mean something for us too. I'm named after my dad, who was named after his dad, who was named after his dad. My son was named after me. When you give the firstborn son a particular name in our family, it connects you in a certain way to this family. My name actually is a biblical word, Jacob, and that word means deceiver. That's not a great name to have, but it has been given a different meaning by my father. It's a name I'll live into now, and I hope my son lives into that name, that way of living up to it. In our society, in the 70s, there was a TV series that came out called Roots, and it really impacted Black people. So much so that after that series, a lot of Black people started referring to themselves as African Americans. And they would give their children African names with meanings because they wanted their children to have those meanings to live into. I actually met a family one time whose last name was Roots. That series impacted them so much they changed their family name. What's in a name? I want you to think about that as you think about a verse in the book of Acts, Acts 11:26. There it's mentioned that people who followed Jesus in Antioch were called Christians for the very first time. Now, my understanding is that was given to them by unbelievers, non-followers, and they were used in a derogatory way. And if you look at the history of the name Christian, it's oftentimes has been a name that's carried a lot of shame with it. Hasn't brought a lot of joy to people, a lot of blessings to people. But for people who understand Jesus and who follow him, they realize that when they're given the name Christian, to carry on, to take on the name Christ, Jesus Christ. That's a name of high calling, a high honor, something to live up to live into, a name of blessing. And it can be that way for everybody. It doesn't have to be used in a bad way or dishonorable way. And whatever's going on in your life, whatever name you carry on in your life, you can choose the name Christian. You can choose to be a follower of Jesus and be blessed by that and be a blessing to others. A new way of life, something to think about. So pass that blessing on to you. Read Ruth with that understanding. Also think about your life with that understanding. What is it in me? Thanks for checking in today. We'll see you next time.